As soon as I saw this one, I knew I wanted to just look at it, because I make fun of Abaddon and the failures of Black Crusades at every single chance I can possibly get, because some of them are just stupid, and it was seriously written into a corner hard in a lot of ways, and they had to explain it some way to make things more effective. Oh god, okay, I'm not even gonna say anything. This was made by Majorkill, of course. Majorkill is hilarious. I'm just gonna jump into this. There were so many that did approximately nothing. That just did nothing, and the rationale behind them was just senseless. This was requested by Sasha. I'm going to save all judgments, hear what Majorkill has to say about it, because most times me and Majorkill actually agree on lore. Here we go.
Gal, for supposedly the primary antagonists of the setting, Chaos hasn't exactly been the big scary boogeyman that Games Workshop wants us to believe they are.
No.
I mean, it took them 13 black jihads to crack the Imperium's first line of defense, which kinda backfired. Because now Gilliman is pooning noobs left, right, and center, and the Big E has kind of woken up. But that does beg the question. A little bit, yeah. With the 13th Black Crusade taking out Cadia and creating the Great Rift, what did the other 12 Crusades do?
Approximately,
well, originally,
dick.
they were all just kind of L's for Abaddon. But in GW's attempt to rebrand the War Master of Chaos as someone who doesn't suck monkeypox-ridden balls, each Crusade did actually achieve something, and they did help contribute to the success of the 13th. Before we get started, you ever hear the saying, abs are made in the kitchen? Gymming is cool and all, but if you don't have enough protein or your calories are just way too high,
products are going to be in the description down below, guys.
Then all that delicious muscle you've been trying to cultivate will never see the light of day. So diet is very important, but I get it. Who can be stuffed cooking food every day, and who has the money to order Uber Eats every day? What if there was like a happy medium, where you could get delicious, healthy, and high protein meals without having to cook or spend an arm and a leg? Well, cheers to today's sponsor, Factor. That is now a reality within your life. Factor creates amazing meals that taste unreal and have really good macros. Just look at the roasted garlic chicken. 46 grams of protein, 22 grams of fat, and 34 grams of carbs. That is like a near perfect macro breakdown. The best part is they only take a couple minutes in the microwave to prepare. Unlike most microwave meals, Factor never freezes food, so it maintains that juicy freshness. Factor meals come to only about $12 per serving, but by using my link and code POG Majorkill120 below, that will bring the first box's serving cost down to $6.20, which is just obscenely good value.
Letting this play, if you guys want to get some meals, get yourself some meals, guys.
Per week, and also extends to the first 5 boxes. This isn't a pissy 10% off. This is hundreds of dollars of saving from an essential product. You know, it's kind of hard to do stuff without food. Cheers to Factor for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over each of the 13 Black Crusades, detailing their purpose, their highlights, what they achieved, and how that helped Abaddon score his first big win. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's go.
Before we get into what each Black Crusade actually accomplished, what the fuck is it? Basically, when Abaddon is feeling a bit spicy, he will call the traitor legions to his side.
Basically, I described it as thus. Abaddon herds cats, and every so often, he will herd enough cats out of the eye of terror to actually try to get something accomplished.
And once he's gathered a sufficiently large army, he will go forth and attack the Imperium. That's basically the gist of it. Not every Abaddon invasion of the Imperium is a Black Crusade, only the ones that he perceives as important, where he does cause a bit of a ruckus. As time went on, these crusades grew larger, as Abaddon got more powerful. Originally, the Sons of Horus were despised by the other legions, as the ones who led them into damnation. So Abi made the smart call to abolish the Sons of Horus and absorb the survivors into his Black Legion. The first Black attack happened only 500 years after the end of the Horus Heresy. In those 500 years, Abaddon had been trying to sort shit out, and he actually did a pretty good job of it. Killing a clone of his father, spanking the Emperor's children for being naughty little sluts, and rebranding his legion. From there, he launched his crusade into Imperial space, and quite the crusade it was. Killing millions, destroying planets, yada yada, blah blah blah. One of the main takeaways was the fact that Abaddon fought and killed Sigismund during this crusade. Siggy was old and worn down, whilst Abaddon had the 4 Chaos Gods tickling his ballsack. He also had Terminator armor and wielded a Primarch weapon. Despite all of this, Sigismund landed a killing blow, shoving the black sword through Abaddon's chest. Now, I don't want to say that Abaddon only wins stuff because of plot armor,
but he only won because of plot armor.
But Abaddon only wins stuff because of plot armor.
Pretty much.
Despite his newly discovered heart condition induced by getting impaled with a great sword, Abaddon is still able to cut Sigismund in half and kill him whilst surviving himself. Interesting. Abaddon would also claim the demon sword Drakion as his own weapon during this crusade, powering him up significantly whilst also officially becoming the War Master of Chaos. Drakion was like a very sharp badge of office. Abi would soon return to the Eye of Terror after his forces started copping a bit of shit from the Imperium. This crusade did actually achieve a decent amount, even if the damage to the Imperium was pretty minor. Abaddon
minor is not really saying it. It was inconsequential.
Was able to unite his legion, retrieve an OP as fuck sword, and prove to the other legions that they were still a threat to the Imperium. The billions that died were just a drop in the ocean for the Imperium's total population, whilst the handful of worlds that fell didn't even make up 1% of the Imperium's total planets. Sigismund's death was a pretty big deal, but the Templar King was already very old and on his way out. If anything, he became a martyr for the loyalist Space Marines.
Yes, he did.
The Second Black Crusade was more subtle and sneaky. A few centuries after the first, Abaddon infiltrated and sabotaged a number of worlds surrounding the Eye of Terror. The purpose was to plant an AIDS bomb that would infect the world's garrison at a later date, meaning that when Abaddon wanted to push out past those worlds at a different time, he could just give all the defenders AIDS, which obviously is handy in war. Abaddon also attacked an inquisitorial outpost, which unleashed a demon within it. Overall, this crusade wasn't a massive one, nor did it have a significant impact on the setting. The Third Black Crusade was a bit...
All those details were literally added post them trying to make Abaddon somewhat scary of an individual.
Of a meme. Abaddon heard a prophecy that the dead Saint Gestalt, who had died defending Cadia a few centuries ago, would return in the future to thwart chaos and save the Imperium. This was a bit random, as Saint Gestalt was just an Imperial officer during his life. He didn't appear to be particularly powerful, nor did he seem to have the ability to resurrect from the dead. But Abaddon had been living in hell for quite some time, so I can kind of see why he was a bit superstitious. As such, he tricked a demon prince, maybe the one that he freed during the Second Black Crusade, I'm not sure, into attacking Cadia with a demon army. This was to act as a distraction, whilst Abaddon snuck into the tomb of Saint Gestalt and teabagged his corpse, ensuring he would never be able to revive. Yeah, look, I don't know about this one, but Abaddon didn't really have to sacrifice much, so, you know, you do you, queen. At the start of the 34th millennium, Abaddon would launch his 4th Black Crusade. This was also a pretty negligible crusade, as all Abaddon really did was attack a super fortified world at the Cadian Gate.
And
his
get his ass
casualties
kicked.
were horrendous, losing most of his elite Terminator warriors and a ton of Black Legionnaires. The battle would have been totally lost if it wasn't for Abaddon's super overpowered sword Drakion carrying the day. With a single strike, Abaddon split the super mega reinforced unbreakable fortress gate in two, allowing his army to rush in and kill all the Imperial defenders. After Abaddon killed the commander, he had to get the fuck out of there as chaos started turning on itself and the world became one big orgy of destruction. Shit like this is why I don't like Abaddon. This tactical genius decided that the best method would be to Naruto run at the enemy's mega defended wall, pray that he wasn't gunned down like how most of his soldiers were, then instead of breaching the wall through strategy and a good plan, he just smacks it with his super high leveled sword.
A lot of the early well, all of the damn crusades besides even the 13th Black Crusade, it was all retconned by GW to make him into somewhat of a threat because they figured they had to. Because he is just...
It kind of shows that it's Abaddon's plot armor and gear that is making him a threat, not the character himself.
Because
the
Abaddon
5th Black
sucks.
Crusade moves more back into the territory of actually doing stuff that would contribute towards a chaos victory. Abaddon makes a deal with the demon prince Doombreed, aka Genghis Khan. He attacks the world of Tarinth, which baits the Warhawks and venerated loyalist chapters to its defense. He then traps them between Doombreed and his own forces to fully wipe out 2 Space Marine chapters. Not a bad effort. Meanwhile, he had strike teams going to poorly defended
Which is
worlds
really
and
not
committing
much
acts of
considering.
violence and depravity in order to weaken the barrier between real space and the warp in these local systems. The forces of chaos would be fought off, but real space was left scarred and fragile, making it easier for the Great Rift to tear the system open in the future. Unfortunately, the tactical intelligence and meaningfulness of the 5th Black Crusade would be forgotten as we return to Abaddon's dipshit retardation for the 6th Crusade. For the 6th Crusade, Abaddon became aware of a splinter force of Black Legionnaires who served a different master,
Yes.
an old captain of the Sons of Horus who Abaddon knew well.
This was literally a personal grudge.
This splinter force had been very successful, raiding Imperial and Chaos worlds alike, with their warband leader being a bit of a badass. Now, Abaddon could have just challenged this new warlord to a duel. He could have engaged him in a war to prove dominance, or, just worked for his loyalty. All of these would have been admirable badass ways to overcome a threat. Instead, Abaddon parlayed with the warband, teamed up with them to take out a random Forge world, and then when the warlord went to shake Abaddon's hand for a job well done, Abaddon just fucking impales him and steals his now leaderless warband. Then the dipshit decided that the one Forge world they took and the one cheap betrayal was worthy of being called a Black Crusade.
This is true.
Shit like this is why so many Traitor Marines dislike Abaddon and see him as unworthy and pathetic. He always seems to take the easy route. Like, are we supposed to be impressed, mate?
Right.
Towards the end of the 37th millennium, Abaddon launched his 7th Black Crusade, which, while it was a pretty fun time and the lore surrounding it is cool, was another one of those pretty redundant ones that didn't achieve a whole lot. Basically, Abaddon decided to go hit and run on the Imperium, arriving at Imperial worlds that were known to be barely habitable for humanity, orbitally bombing the thing that made them habitable, then leaving as the world's population died due to its now uninhabitable state. The Blood Angels engaged Abaddon's army multiple times during this crusade, suffering massive losses. The chapter might have even gone extinct if it wasn't for the fact that the space sharks came out of fucking nowhere, curb stomped the shit out of the Black Legion, and allowed the Blood Angels to escape. It was during this Black Crusade that Abaddon himself was nearly killed. See, a Blood Angel squad of Death Company, aka the Blood Angels who have all gone batshit insane due to the Black Rage and now believe themselves to be Sanguinius and everyone else to be Horus, ambushed Abaddon. They slaughtered Abaddon's honor guard and they began massacring his army whilst their leader, Reclusiarch Joris, dueled Abaddon. Despite Abaddon's chaos blessings, weaponry, and larger army, he very nearly was killed by Joris. Eventually, his plot armor prevailed and Joris as well as his Death Company were killed. However, Abaddon was so impressed with their fury that he desecrated the corpses of all Blood Angels except the Death Company. For the Death Company, he built thrones for them to sit on. The kicker is that these thrones were made of dead Black Legionnaires. So, I have to give Abaddon a point there. That is pretty...
I didn't know that, and that's point worthy. That's one of the first things that he said that I didn't know about going into this. That is legitimately... Well, they do some things with Abaddon that make him seem somewhat okay somewhat okay. Like the way he did Sigismund, the way he handled, killing Sigismund. This gives him a little bit more points, but he's still a massive douchebag.
Fucking funny, and it makes for a great mental image. Probably would have been terrible for the Crusade's morale, however. Like, imagine you want to bury your battle brother, but Abaddon's like, nah, sorry, we need him for the footrest. After this, Abaddon's depleted forces would return home, cutting the Crusade early due to the hecticness of Joris and his men. The 8th Black Crusade was another meme crusade whose only purpose was to complete a game that would make Titsnitch happy. Abaddon basically went across the galaxy and only killed certain people, destroyed certain settlements, and raided certain worlds as he worked to complete a sequence and win the game. The Inquisition joined the game halfway through to try beat Abaddon, but alas, Abaddon won the game, and his reward was a pat on the head by Titsnitch? I mean, yeah, gamer's gonna game, but come on, dude. Getting back on track, the 9th Black Crusade was a bit more productive. A bunch of nuclear holocausts, orbital bombardments, all that cute fun stuff. A number of loyalist chapters rose to face this new menace, including the Lamenters, who, true to their reputation,
the Lamenters are fucking G's in this story, guys.
got absolutely sodomized, as the Mortificators chapter refused to fight alongside them due to their curse. Hence, 80% of the Lamenters died before the Ultramarines arrived and saved the day. Abaddon's sorcerers were able to draw power from all the carnage to weaken the veil between the warp and real space and the surrounding sectors, similar to how they did in the 5th Crusade. The 10th Black Crusade was a collab between
this is an absolute meme.
the Black Legion and the Iron Warriors led by
Is it a meme? Is it this one or the 12th? One of these, no, the 12th was the Gothic War. The next one is the absolute meme. Sorry, guys.
Rabo himself. Using the Black Legion as a diversionary force to attack various Imperial worlds simultaneously, Abaddon travelled with Perturabo to attack Medusa, the homeworld of the Iron Hands. Although the Iron Hands would hold the planet and force Abaddon's withdrawal, he choked it up as a win, because he learned valuable stuff about the Iron Hands, like the fact that their hands were iron.
Yes.
The 11th Black Crusade was probably the biggest flop of them all.
It is.
Abaddon tried to use a batshit insane demon as a navigator through warp storms. This went about as well as can be expected, as Abaddon's fleet was scattered, with himself arriving at an Imperial world under siege by orcs. A three-way battle commenced, with Abaddon retreating because fuck that. He did, however, manage to capture a ton of greenies, and he used their connection to the War in order to weaken the barrier between real space and the warp. The 12th
You see how that bullshit kind of works out, where it's like, oh well, I did this esoteric thing, and that's why I did this. Don't excuse the fact it's a complete fuck up.
Black Crusade is probably one of the only conflicts on this list that can actually be considered a crusade. Abaddon musters a fuckload of warriors, numerous warlords, and a planet-killing supership. The result was mass devastation, many worlds destroyed, subsector after subsector surrendering to Abaddon lest they face annihilation. To make matters worse, Abaddon had been collecting Blackstone fortresses, ancient superweapons built by a god during the War in Heaven. These could also destroy worlds, so Abaddon now had a whole handful of world enders on his side. With chaos growing so powerful, the Imperium formed an alliance with the local Eldar Corsairs and a craft world, allowing them to strike at Abaddon's fleet and bait it into various ambushes. Eventually, the full might of the Imperium, backed up by the Eldar, engaged Abaddon, destroying 4 Blackstone fortresses, most of Abaddon's fleet, and it almost even got Planet Killer. Although Abaddon had caused obscene amounts of damage, he was ultimately beaten, losing most of his army and forced to retreat back to the Eye of Terror. It would be nearly 1,000 years until Abaddon's 13th and final Black Crusade would launch.
If you want to know what this war is, it's the Gothic War, and it's awesome.
As Abby needed time to lick his wounds. The 13th Black Crusade was massive and honestly needs its own video.
Yes.
But the gist of it was that Abaddon leveraged the full might of chaos and focused it on Cadia, whilst the Loyalists figured out how to activate the Necron pylons, shrinking the Eye of Terror. In a desperate last move, Abaddon flung his damaged Blackstone fortress at Cadia like a meteorite,
In a temper tantrum.
breaking the planet and causing a massive psychic blowback, tearing the galaxy in half with the Great Rift and giving us the current unideal state of the galaxy. From here, the galaxy has just been in a free-for-all, with Abaddon popping up where he is needed to try further the traitor's cause, whilst Gilliman is getting regular chiropractic treatment from carrying the Imperium so fucking hard. So which Black Crusade actually achieved something and which were total bullshit? The 1st, 5th, 9th and 12th were decent, weakening the Imperium as well as the veil between real space and the warp. The rest ranged from cool but not very impactful, all the way to totally unnecessary and kinda retarded. You can tell that not much thought was put into each Black Crusade,
No.
as they were used as footnotes in the Chaos Marines codexes, and
True.
look, that's alright. I can enjoy the conflict between mankind and chaos and even appreciate the danger of chaos whilst also thinking that Abaddon is a fucking retard. Honestly, dude just gotta let his top knot down. All that pulling is putting too much stress on his brain. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be. We're only $1 per month to give you access to a bunch of beautifully hand-drawn authentic boobs. Hit the subscribe button and hit the subscribe button for more black content. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Okay, so that was every single Black Crusade explained by Australia. The 11th Black Crusade was an absolute meme fest because it just displayed the absolute stupidity. It's just embarrassing. It's ridiculous. It made no sense. Half of them didn't make any sense. When you are like deliberately throwing everything you have at a planet that's held by the Lamenters, no, just it's time to cash it in. Stop it. You need help, okay? You just really 100% need help at that point. You need some assistance, you need a lot of therapy, and you might want to go with a financial advisor. In any case, like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. All of my links are going to be in the description down below, and Majorkill's links, including his promotion that he's running right now. So if you guys want to get yourself some food, drop on down there, check it out. Let me know how it is if you get it. In any case, I'll All of my links are going to be down there as well, including my Patreon, PayPal, and my Discord, so you guys can come in and throw rocks at me. Well, that's about it, you guys. I hope you learned something about Abaddon, namely that he's a colossal failure, and that he'd be much better replaced by someone like, I don't know, Sevatar, if they can find him. Sevatar would make a much better War Master than him. In any case, I'll catch you guys next time. Failbadon the Harmless.